Hello and welcome back to Frogboy X1 Gaming. I'm Andrew, and today we're gonna review my 7900 XT. Now it's been 3 months since I switched over from Nvidia over to AMD. So if you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. This is going to be a serious video. I'm not going to go out of my way to try to bash Nvidia or anything. I do believe that Nvidia cards are great. They do what they're great. There's a lot of forward-thinking stuff that goes along with the Nvidia graphics cards. They do 100% perform. I simply wanted to try AMD, so here we are. 3 months later, I bought the 7900 XT. I was essentially I was at a point, to be completely honest with you, when I bought this card, where I was not really feeling like the whole gaming thing on PC. I had the 3080. I figured, hey man, if I spend this much and this much for a PC, and I think that's what a lot of newcomers that are coming to PC are probably going to run into. They're going to think, well, an Xbox or a PlayStation's $500. If I spend $2,000 on a PC, I'm going to be able to blow that thing away, because that is kind of the messaging we receive as consumers from everywhere we watch, from everywhere we look. We've got, I've said this before in a few other videos, DLSS. I do kind of think DLSS is a double-edged sword. I think that the technology is absolutely amazing. It really does work, and it really does make your image quality look significantly better than not using it, especially when you're trying to, you're trying to push your frames higher. And I do kind of believe that, like, the general consensus and the way people are utilizing DLSS is technically wrong. Here's my thinking for that. If you go out and you buy let's say the 3080 10 gig that I had, okay? Well, first of all, when you look at the 3080, it does have a high enough bus rate to be able to push up to 4K. But it doesn't have the VRAM to consistently, use that. VRAM budgets are getting higher, but I do kind of think they're going to level out here pretty soon. I do kind of think that, your 16 to 20 gigabytes is still going to be, fairly decent for pure raster. I feel like 16 gigs for rasterized 4K is probably going to be sufficient. When you start getting into the ray tracing, that's where you're going to start to see the deficits coming up, where 16 gigabytes just might not be a big enough buffer to comfortably hit that and be able to get a higher frame rate and stuff. So I do kind of feel like 16 gigabytes is still kind of limited more to the rasterized 4K high quality ray tracing and the whole 9 yards at 1440p, or you're like your widescreen. Like if you're running around with a widescreen TV, well, not a TV, but a super wide monitor or whatever. I do think that like the 16 gigabyte buffer will probably be sufficient with that, seeing as it's almost 4K, but not necessarily 4K. So I think that you'll be. I think that 16 gigs is probably. I think it's going to level out. There will be some games that are obviously going to push past that, but if we get back to the thing, I think that with DLSS, it's creating like there's two sides to this blade when it comes to DLSS, and I've tried to explain this, so I'm going to try to explain it the best way I can so that more people can understand this. And this is my thing with DLSS as being heavily marketed as this feature, this must-have feature, and worth the price of the graphics card itself. DLSS is designed to upscale your resolution and upscale your pixels from a lower base resolution. So if you want a 4K image on a 4K screen, is what DLSS is going to do is it's going to drop the resolution to 1440p. Then it is going to re-upscale that so that it can look good on a 4K TV. Now there's different levels of quality with that. You're going to have your performance, you're going to have your balance, or you're going to have your quality, you're going to have your balance, you're going to have your performance, and then your ultra performance. So you're going to have 4 different levels that you'll be able to utilize. And with each rung down you go, the the internal resolution is going to drop significantly so that it can upscale it to 4K. So at ultra performance, your 4K image isn't going to look as good as, say, your quality 4K image. So the quality is basically where you're going to want to use if you're going up another resolution to get a almost, you know, pixel for pixel 4K image or 1440p image, or depending on your screen, you know, up to 8K image, whatever. And what's going on the Nvidia side is the amount of VRAM that they're supplying with their graphics cards. It's you've got like the DLSS, okay, that can push your 1080p card, your 1440p card, all the way to 4K. Like the DLSS can do that. And what happens is when you buy that, when you go out at the beginning of the generation, you're like, oh yeah, the 4060 just came out, and you buy that card and you're playing some of them older games, and it's 100% comfortably running that game at a playable frame rate at 4K. I think that when people are doing that, it is making them think that their card is a lot higher quality, because that's what it did to me. That's my honest experience. That's what it did to me. It put me in a mindset that, like, yeah, man, I've got this card can do this, when in reality I didn't have the bus rate, or say with the 3060 Ti that I had, I didn't have the bus rate to do 4K. I didn't really have the VRAM allocation to do 4K, to push higher textures. So I would get the stuttering, and I would get the issues, and I would get the problems, because I was always trying to run it, you know, at a higher resolution than what my card was designed for. Now 8 gigabytes is 1080p now. I mean, yes, you'll have older games that will be able to comfortably run in an 8 gigabyte buffer at 4K. Like, there's plenty of those. There's plenty of well-optimized games that have an 8 gigabyte, you know, max texture allocation so that you can comfortably run those. And what happens is we get so used to being able to run that. And then as we try newer and newer games, we start to see that fall. You know, you had games like The Last of Us come out that were the VRAM allocation on that game at launch was absolutely broken, so everybody's card was trash. The same thing, you know, with a newer game like Starfield, not utilizing DLSS, and this is another part of that double-edged sword that makes people kind of like not necessarily, like it kind of puts them in a situation to where They bought this card, they have these expectations, and then if DLSS doesn't ship with the product, then that product runs significantly worse than anything they've played prior. So they get mad, and then they take it out on the developers, or they say it's a trash game. Then you get a bunch of, you know, negative reviews over on Steam, because as it sits right now, Nvidia is the top dog. And this is, I do think that this was important for me to explain all of this during this review, so that you guys can kind of understand that, like, look, obviously he understands what's going on and why he did what he did. I bought into the 3080 thinking that I was already starstruck by DLSS with the 3060 Ti. Like, it was like, yeah, it was giving me that 4K and all of everything in between. So I thought, yeah, the 3080 is going to be fine. The 3080 is going to be fine with the 10 gigs of VRAM. I was mainly going to try to run 1440p. But then I started to notice that, like, I'm not getting the experience that I thought I was going to get, because going from the 3060 Ti to a 3080, it wasn't really that much of an uptick in overall, you know, rasterized power. Everything still looked the same. It still looked the same because I was using the same resolution, same textures, all of that. So I didn't get any kind of boost in image quality or anything going to the 3080. So I mean, right there I was already like, okay. And then I started noticing that I'm like, dang, dude, I'm not even getting that many more frames. Like, this is disappointing. Like, I'm disappointed. This is ruining my PC experience. I would much rather just play on the Xbox or the PlayStation, because it's essentially the same. And that's my honest opinion as a consumer, as somebody that bought into the whole PC is greatness and all of that stuff. If I would have been playing like some of the older games, like at launch when they came out on the 3080, you know, like the ones with the lower VRAM budgets, stuff like that, it would have been fine. Like, there were some instances on the 3080 that I was like, wow, this is absolutely mind-blowing. Sim racing was one of them. That pretty much paved the way for me to pretty much kind of switch everything over to the PC for sim racing. So I was like, okay, that's great. Now I want to kind of just I want to move away from the whole Nvidia thing. Okay, like this video is not to talk about them or to prop them up or to do anything like that. This is to review my experience and the 7900 XT to the best of my ability. Since I've had the 7900 XT for 3 months, it's been 3 months. I've bought lots of games. I've played lots of games on this. Current new releases, older games that I used to, want to see doing a little bit better on, like that 3080. Multiple different titles that have launched that I've played on this card that I've been like very impressed with that. Now, I fully utilized DLSS when I had the Nvidia graphics card, so I have been utilizing FSR2 on the 7900 XT in certain situations. Mainly if I want to play in ray tracing. Mainly if I want to play with ray tracing, I have to use FSR. With the path tracing of Cyberpunk 2077, the new update, and being able to play like Phantom Liberty and stuff, if I want path tracing, I have to use ultra performance for that to even be a playable frame rate. So I need you to understand that. Like, if you go with AMD, you are going to take a pretty significant loss in overall ray tracing performance. Like this 7900 XT, I still kind of feel like the 3080 gave me better ray tracing performance in Cyberpunk. Like it did. I remember being able to play that game. Like, I couldn't play it at 4K. I was getting about 4K 30 frames a second with quality DLSS or balanced DLSS or something, if I remember. And then, but I never got a chance to try the 2.0 update on that. But I know I could get like 60 at 4. I was getting like 70-ish frames at 1440p. And then when I wanted to use, when I first turned on path tracing, using, I think I was using like the quality preset, maybe quality, maybe balanced or whatever. But I was excited that I was getting like over 30 frames per second, because the whole thing with Cyberpunk is when that game first launched, I played through that on the Xbox Series X in the 4K 30 mode. Like, I played through that in the quality mode, so I got used to like lining up my shots and all of that stuff. So it's to this day, Cyberpunk is still playable at 30 frames a second for me on a controller, because I trained myself playing that game with a controller at 30 frames per second. So that works for me. I can still do that. I can still utilize that. And I can still get a playable experience when it comes to Cyberpunk 2077. Now, that game is by far the biggest, like the difference and like the performance wise for the 7900 XT. So if I'm using 4K and I'm using quality, I can get to 4K 30 frames per second on the 7900 XT. If I'm running at 1440p, I can still get quality FSR2 with full ray tracing at about a 60 FPS. It's like 61 FPS average, 33 FPS average for the 4K. And then if I turn on path tracing and I'm still utilizing ultra settings, the only thing I'm doing is I'm going down to my FSR2 and I'm going all the way over to ultra performance, and that's giving me at 4K 30ish to 40 frames per second. So technically playable. Now, if I go down to 1440p with those same settings, I can get almost a 60 FPS performance. And I'll tell you what, right there at the 1440p is actually a fairly decent overall image quality. Like, I'm still getting the higher, the texture quality, all of that. But I am also starting to get like a little more breakup in the image. Basically, is what I'm saying is that it is possible, but image quality is going to definitely suffer. Like, it's still playable. Like, you can still look at it and see. Here's the beauty of having coming from like the consoles to the PC. It's not necessarily that it's acceptable, it's playable, and that's all that matters. It's playable. And if you can play it and you can see it, then you can decide if that extra cost of splurging on the the hardware that's more capable or more designed to run this type of stuff, especially for a game that's heavily optimized for that platform. That's up to you. That's up to you. I'm telling you that you can play it. It's not the greatest experience, but it's doable. Like, you're still getting the benefit of the light. You're still getting the benefit of, you know, some of the other things. And the more, the lower the screen. See, that's the thing. I got 1440p monitors, so I'm able to utilize that so it actually doesn't look as bad as what you're seeing when I put the video out. When I put the video out for you guys, it is, especially if I'm running it at 4K and I'm doing it on the monitor, I get the downsampling, which downsamples it to 1440p, so it brings those pixels back, the ones that are being like completely like blown out, it brings them back down. So overall, I'm not losing as much image quality as you would think I am when I'm utilizing my 1440p monitor. I'm actually getting a fairly decent overall image quality utilizing path tracing on there. But you are going to notice like a softer look, things like that you're just going to have to decide. But here's the thing though, if I go straight to rasterized power at like max settings with what's it called, with the screen space reflection set at Psycho, it looks very good. It looks very good either way. So at 1440p, I can get 100 plus frames a second at like native resolution at 1440p. And then if I kick on, you know, like quality, it gives me a little bit more frame rate, like literally like a few frames, down to you know, 4K. I get a 60 FPS experience at 4K on Cyberpunk with my setup 5900X and 7900 XT. It's literally like 58 point something average. Actually, I think it was 61 frames per second, 61.82. So I mean, it's still playable. It's easily playable, and I can still play that at 4K. And when I super sample that down to 1440p, gosh, it just looks incredible. So I can get a high frame rate experience with this card on Cyberpunk. But yeah, dude, I am going to leave some of that ray tracing on the table. And to tell you the truth, like, it does look really nice, but pure rasterization looks very, very good too. Now, I want to talk about some of the other games. We're going to get into like the software, everything. We're going to talk about this experience for a few more minutes. But other games that I've bought and that I've played since this has come out. You know, I've had Atlas Fallen running very good. Payday 3 running pretty dang good. What's something else that came out recently? Let me see if I can pull up my my Steam real quick. Actually, no, we can look at that in the. We can just do that right here. If I go to gaming, and then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do, while we're talking about these games, I'm gonna go ahead and take me off. Okay, so here's all of these games that I've played on here. Let's see. Oh, it did update, but normally it will give me like the performance on some of these right here. Let's see. So, Automobilista 2. My performance on that one is 113 frames a second. 113 frames. That's 4K. If we go back out, and then we go into, what's another one that I've been playing? So here we go. Dirt Rally 2 at maximum settings. It says optimal, but we're getting about 96% at maxed out. If we go into, I like this. See, Deathloop at 4K, we're getting 112. Is that 4K? I think I was playing that at 4K. Maybe it was 1440p. I'm not sure. I'll have to check that one to make sure. I don't want to give you any false information. See, Cyberpunk right here, this is going to tell me, this is giving me marginal performance, and this is with ray tracing enabled, guys. And I believe that we were using, yeah, so 53 frames per second on that game. Ghost Runner at 4K with ray tracing is giving me 78 frames per second. I've been playing that one now. That one there is pretty fun. HDC, this one was giving me 59 frames. I don't need to keep going in there. Hogwarts Legacy is giving me, what, 88 frames a second. I believe this is 1440p with ray tracing enabled. And then, why isn't it showing me Zero Dawn? I've been playing that one a lot. Ride 5's giving me 115. Overpass giving me 151 frames. Let's see what else we got on here. Why isn't it? So Motorfest at 4K is giving me, 54.6 average frames. So that's pretty decent for like an open world game. Like that to me is acceptable. WRC 10, I get 106 frames. All of these games right here, these racing ones, I'm playing these at 4K. Like, I'm not playing around with these games. This one right here, Ride 5. Ride 5 at 105 frames a second. This is with 200%. This is with the resolution scale set at 200% at max settings at 4K. So that game, I'm getting a really good overall image quality with that. I know that I've played more on here, but for some reason, like some of these games aren't showing up, like Forspoken, Achilles Legends Untold, Armored Core, Assassin's Creed. These games, for some reason, Assetto Corsa, I've been playing a ton of that. Like, why isn't that showing up? Or Baldur's Gate 3. So, but let's look at the ones that have recently come out. Armored Core is almost a 4K 120. Like, it does go down into 100s. Assassin's Creed is like 4K at 100 frames a second or more. I don't know the exact average. Achilles Legend, that one like runs almost at like 4K 165. Assetto Corsa Competizione is like 90 frames a second or something, maybe up to 100 and something. Black Desert's really high frame rate. Call of Duty Modern Warfare is really high frame rate, up to 120, up in the hundreds. Forspoken, I'm getting about 60-ish frames at 4K. I think a little more utilizing FSR. Spider-Man, it's like 4K 70, 4K 80. Control, I think it was like 4K 30 with like, or 4K 30, 40 with ray tracing. Some of these I just don't remember. I think this one here is like 4K 60-ish, a little more than 60. Witcher 3 is 4K 80, 90 without ray tracing, but then 4K, I could get a 4K 60-ish experience if I turn on FSR. Got to go down on the like, I think it's like not ultra quality, but or ultra performance, but somewhere close to there. So all of these games that I've been playing, like Ghost Recon, I'm running at 6K at like 60-ish frames per second. The same with Horizon Zero Dawn, 6K, well 8K with ultra performance FSR, and that thing runs at 60 frames a second ish. Death Stranding is like way high. It's like over 120, over 120 at 4K. That one runs really good. Dark Souls 3 is like 80 frames, 90 frames a second. So I'm getting pretty decent overall. Like this right here, 4K 70, 80 frames with Riders Republic. So I mean, the overall, my overall experience when it comes to like frame rate and stuff, when it comes to the 7900 XT, 4K or 4K is playable. Like I can usually figure out a way to get a playable 4K experience on anything I play. And the things that I play mainly at 4K are going to be my sim racing games, which all of those are very, very high when it comes to racing. Anything I can use my will on is going to be on the 4K. That's what I bought the LG C2 for. I needed a smaller TV. Everything else, I'm usually running about 1440p, so I'm getting usually really high frame rate up into the hundreds. In pretty much everything I play at 1440p, I don't have to, like at 1440p, like I have a no compromise experience most of the time. And that is without FSR. Without FSR, it is a no compromise experience at 1440p on everything I've played, unless I want ray tracing. Then ray tracing, I do have to utilize FSR even at 1440p, even at 1080p sometimes. So ray tracing is significantly more heavy on the AMD GPU, but it's possible and it is playable. And we're not talking, I mean, like Resident Evil 4, was that even on there? Resident Evil 4 very high frame rate with max settings, with ray tracing enabled, using the 8 GB texture pack for that game. Looks absolutely incredible, and it is playable at both 4K and freaking 1440p. Very high quality. I mean, like Splinter Cell Blacklist, 8K. So I mean, the games that I play, and see, that's the beauty of this channel, is because I buy so many different games that I'm able to get like a really solid baseline for how this card is operating, and that's incredible. I feel like I feel like the more different games that I play, the better the overall, like my overall experience is going to be better for me recommending a product or not recommending a product. And so far, I don't want to say, I do want you to know that I came into AMD with lower expectations, like I did, and it has comfortably exceeded all of my expectations for this card so far. Like I pretty much believed I was leaving freaking, I literally believed, from all the stuff that you hear on the internet and all the negativity towards AMD, I literally believed ray tracing was not going to happen. I literally believed that like FSR2 was not going to be usable because of how much I don't like checkerboard rendering and how much I don't like over fuzzy images. I believed I wasn't going to be able to utilize that, but I've been seriously blown away by the quality of some of these games running with FSR2. It looks pretty dang good. Now there are instances even when DLSS wasn't that great, but it's one of those things where like I came into this thinking that, yeah, dude, I'm going into just pure rasterize. And that's what I thought. I believed that I wasn't going to be able to utilize my editing software. I believed that I wasn't going to be able to, like, I didn't think I was going to be able to utilize editing software at all. I've been able to do that. I thought I was going to have a hard time doing recordings and all of that stuff. Every single worry that I had with this card has been 100% like completely nullified. Like, I'm okay with the overall experience that I've gotten with this. This 90 days has actually helped me to, I'm actually, leaning a lot more toward like PC gaming than I ever was with the Nvidia graphics cards. Like I'm more willing, like seriously, after my experience on the 3080 with freaking what was it? Callisto Protocol. I was like, no, I'll just buy the games on Xbox. That was my thing. I was like, I'll just buy them on Xbox, and then I'll buy them on the PC later. I really did lose confidence. I'm not even joking. Like the stutter struggle, and you can't say that like, oh, it was your fault. No, dude, everybody had the issue with that game, and there's still like stuttering issues with it today apparently. But that's the thing. Like getting experiences like that on the 3080 kind of just like ruined it for me. Like I bought Wild Hearts on the PC. And that experience on the 3080 was, for the first couple of levels, it was manageable. Like it was playable. I set it to low settings, and I was able to play that at low settings with like, and I had to utilize FSR because there was no DLSS at launch. So I was playing around with that game, and I was just like, gosh, this sucks, man. This absolutely sucks. I was starting to lose faith in overall PC gaming. But then I bought the 7900 XT, and I can comfortably say that the amount of stuttery games that I've had on this PC versus the 3080, it's like night and day for me. And I'm not just saying that to like throw shade at Nvidia. Like I do mean that, and obviously some of that was user error. My unwillingness to compromise on quality visuals. It definitely did that, and I'm not compromising on this card either. Like I'm not, I'm running everything. When I get in there, I'm setting everything to ultra, and I'm running it to see how it runs. And then if I need to utilize FSR like on 4K, then I do. I flip it on, and the only thing I'm compromising on is the level of upscaling that I'm using. Like I'll go from maybe, you know, down to balanced or performance or ultra performance. Um, and then there's an added bonus with AMD cards is you can utilize XESS. Now you're not going to get as much of a performance boost with XESS, but you are going to be able to get better image quality. I do think the XESS Ultra Performance looks, or performance mode looks better than FSR Ultra Performance. But then as you start going up the stack, the first two XESS do look better than Ultra Performance and Performance. But once you get to balanced and quality, they're both very good. Like they start to like, you can almost barely tell, especially when you get to quality mode. Like quality mode looks very good on a lot of games now. I do think that the 7900 XT is at a fairly decent, you know, price range right now. Honestly, though, after what I've experienced with this AMD card, I do kind of feel like the 7800 XT is probably going to be like a really good investment for gamers. To tell you the truth, you're going to get solid 1080p and 1440p performance. You're going to be able to utilize some 4K, but you're also going to have, you know, that 16 gigabytes of VRAM buffer for $500, and that's going to put you in I would say a pretty decent, you know, frame for longevity, especially right now. I think developers after the last generation of graphics cards from Nvidia, I do think developers are going to pull back, and they're going to kind of be like, all right, this is what we're doing, this is our budgets, blah blah blah. I think that it's going to reset. I do think that 12 gigabytes is going to be your entry, you know, for 1080p with ray tracing. 16 gigabytes is going to be your 1440p with ray tracing, and I do think 20 to 24 is going to be your 4K with ray tracing. I just do. I think that is where these new things are going to reset, especially with AMD pushing, you know, 20 and 24 gigs of VRAM. That's going to give developers more confidence to be able to utilize that extra VRAM buffer to be able to push their textures and stuff and like ray tracing effects and all of that just a little bit further, and that only leaves you 4090 on the Nvidia side, and that's a fairly expensive card. I mean, it is. That's literally almost the whole cost of what it cost me to build this whole PC. So I can see that, and not everybody out there's got all the money in the world to go out there and to buy the top of the line. So yeah, if you find yourself in a position, this is the way I feel about AMD after using it for 3 months. This is my honest feeling. Would it be nice to have a 4090 and be able to utilize all those new features? Yeah, definitely would. It definitely would. But I could buy two 7900 XTs for the price of that 4090. I could buy a 7900 XT and a ROG Ally for the same price as that. So that's where you have to kind of have to figure out, you know, how can you justify that? And maybe you're just one of those people that just got to have the best. You know what the best is. Go get it. So 4090. You know what the best is. There's no reason to watch anybody's benchmarks or anything. You already know that is the number one top card out there right now. In terms of, you know, budget friendly and ease of use, man, AMD is awesome. I got into this AMD card, and like, let me just show you this software again, my friends. Let me go ahead and boop. So if you get in here, man, like you've got, okay, so the gaming, this is just a gaming tag. You can go into these games, it'll show you, you know, what your average is, all of that stuff. You can click on each game like I was showing you. But if you go into graphics, now graphics, you can select your HyperRX, you can click that on, and this is good for every game utilizes this. It doesn't matter. Like, this is all driver level, so you can utilize HyperRX. If you get in a game that's not already HyperRX tuned, you are going to have to go into the game settings and go one notch lower. So if you're a 1440p monitor, you have to go to 1080p, and then HyperRX will kick in, and you'll be able to get the benefits of all of that. You will get the benefits of Super Anti-Lag Plus, and Radeon Boost. But Super Resolution is only going to be available if you go down to the proper resolution, and it has to be the screen's width or whatever. So 1080p, 1920 by 1080p is going to be your 1080p setting that will upscale you to 1440p. With 4K, you do get to select from 1440p, 1728p, and 1800p. You can select all of those, and that will upscale you to 4K, no problem. Record and stream, or no. So this is that. So this will be your graphic selections. You can go down here into advanced. You can frame rate your target control. You can target to do whatever you want. Say like, hey man, I want to set a game at 60 frames. You could do that. You could set all your games to hit that target. You've got all of these different things, you know, like at the anti-aliasing, and then another method for it. And then you click on here, it'll show you what all of these do. So this one here is better for DirectX 9. This one here is going to be for your Vulkan and DirectX 12. And you can enable these or disable. These are driver level. So an alternative edge smoothing technique with minimal performance overhead doesn't affect DirectX 12 and Vulkan applications. Texture filter quality. So you've got plenty of this stuff. Tessellation mode. What's this one right here? OpenGL triple buffering. 10 big pixel. This won't work on HDR. And then you can reset your shader cache. But then if you go over to display, now display is going to let you play around with stuff like FreeSync Premium. Wait, do I have that one? Yeah. So that one's going to let you play around with stuff like FreeSync Premium, Vulkan, or Virtual Super Resolution. I love this. If you don't have this enabled, then it's going to lock your screen for all the games that you're playing. But at Virtual Super Resolution, you can click this on, leave that on, and then you can go past, you know, your screen display and then super sample back down. So if you've got like a game, like say you've got a game like one of these older 8th gen games, you know, like the Horizon Zero Dawn or something like that, you can utilize your Virtual Super Resolution to let that game push all the way up to 8K, and then you can super sample that down all the way to 1440p, and it makes the picture, the image quality look so good, and you still get to retain that 60 frames a second. And the higher you go up, say you go up to 8K and you click on ultra performance super resolution, okay? So you kick that on. Is what like this is kind of working in the opposite direction. So when you do use that, say you're trying to get to 4K, if you click on ultra performance, it's going to take you down like sub 1080p. It's like 864p or something like that, and then it's going to shoot you back up to 4K. Well, see, now look at this. If you click on that ultra performance, but then you set your output display to 8K, then that's going to, that's going to upscale that. But then if you're going back down to a 1440p monitor, it's going to like shove that all the way back down to 1440p, so it's going to look better than like DLSS 4K quality or FSR2 4K quality. Like, it's going to look incredible. You're going to get way more detail, the overall image quality looks absolutely incredible when you utilize that. So let me get back over into here and show you guys just a little more about this. GPU scaling, this right here is GPU scale up lower resolution to fit the display. So that's usually like movies or something, other stuff. But you have all these different types of settings in here that you can just get in here and play with, like custom color on display 1. So you get in here, boom, and like I said, you can turn your saturation up. If you're somebody that likes that higher saturated color, I do like this at like 150. So I usually keep it about like that, and then that's cool. Like it will look incredible. Being able to adjust this like this on the fly, it helps a lot with HDR quality or HDR content, because if you just have it at normal, then you're just basically you're going to get the brightness and the darkness. But then if you get in here and you play with the saturation, then you can play with that, and it makes it pop even more. Very, very cool, and I'm so grateful that this has that right there. It's just like, boom, it's just a setting. Advisors, this right here, you can get in here if you want to graph some performance. This will tell you recommendations. This right here is going to tell you that, like, there used to be something that I would see. It says render scale reduce. The render scale is set to 120. Try reducing it to 100. So this here, these right here will try to help you get your game set up to run at a more stable performance. Before, when I had the 5800X, this thing told me to get a 5900X or something for like some game. I don't remember which one. Record and stream. So you can just click this on Alt R. It'll pull this up while you're in game. You just hit the start button, go back over here. You can close it out, or you can Alt R again. That will literally get you in there. You can select if you want your camera on at the same time while you're recording. That there will pop a camera over here in the corner for you. And then you're good to go, like with that. So live stream, same thing. You just set up where you want to live stream to. Then you just go on here. You can put different scenes in here. So you've got all of this right here. If you're a content creator, just boom, it jumps right into there. You can get into scene editor. You can edit like some of your stuff. Like if you want your camera over here, you can put it over here. You can pretty much do whatever you want. You can do your chat overlay. You can have like the chat right here up in the corner while you're live streaming. You can adjust the size of that. You can have your chat as big as you want. You can literally make your chat like this big. Like it doesn't even matter. Like you've got full 100% control over all of this stuff. You can have your indicator on. Your indicator is basically going to tell you. I keep that on so that I know that I'm recording. Like if I'm looking over here in the top of the screen, like I can see the little numbers right here. But you could put that indicator. Actually, no, you can't. You're stuck. It's right there. It ain't going away. But yeah, you could put that right there. Or not there. Oh, location, top left. Yeah, you can. You can turn it to the bottom right. Okay, yeah, you do. Bottom left. I think I might keep it down there at the bottom. No, because it's easier for me to see. So we'll do top right. Yeah, I'll just leave it up there. But yeah, so you can fully map your thing. You can have your camera right here in the middle. You can have your camera like this. You can do whatever you want with your camera. And that's cool. Like you can adjust how your camera's going to look and all of that stuff right here on your thing. Actually, I think I would want this like right there in the very bottom. See, I haven't even really played with this too much because, you know, I haven't really done a lot of live streaming. This here also is set up for when you're recording too. So now your camera and everything is going to be right down here in the corner. And then media. The media stuff, this is all the things that I've recorded on here. It keeps them all in here. Like here's all my videos that I've been recording over the last little while. I just did another Starfield one. I was checking the the new patch that they just put out. I got an overpass video that's about to come out for you guys. Just haven't uploaded it yet. Settings, we've got you know, you can hook any of these accounts. You can go Facebook. All of these things right here that you can just stream straight to, like Twitch, Restream, Facebook, all of that stuff. You can set up all of your stuff in here. You can go in here recording 60 frames. I'm recording at 2160p, 50 megabyte bit rate. That's what I'm running at. You could set all this up. This here is for recording. Then live streaming, you can set it up for like 1440p, 60. You know, bit rate, you can adjust that to whatever you want, and then you can set up your recording software. So like your stereo or like your camera, you can set up your mic, all of that stuff, and it's all right here in just one freaking awesome package. Performance is the last tab. You get into performance, and then you can log your performance and stuff on all your games, your FPS, all of that stuff. You can show what you want in your overlay. You can adjust all your overlay if you want that on your screen. From right here in this, you can just jump right into Ryzen Master. You can jump right into Ryzen Master. If you're somebody that wants to utilize your overclocking and all of that stuff, boom, it's right there. You just jump in here. You put whatever you want there. You can do an auto overclock. You can do a manual. Curve optimizer for your fans, all of that stuff. You just hit apply, and then you can test it. You can apply and test it. You can go into advanced view so you can get more creative with that. Advanced view is going to pull up this bigger thing, and this is going to let you tweak settings even a lot more. You will have to reboot your computer if you change any of this stuff to go ahead and see that. I haven't played around with any of this stuff just yet, just because of the fact that like I'm doing benchmarks and stuff. So and I don't know what I'm doing. Like I don't know what I would even start doing, and I'm not going to sit and watch a whole bunch of YouTube videos to figure that out. So and there's also, you can get into tuning, which is going to be able to get in here, and you're going to be able to play with like your CPU. You can come down here to your GPU. You can tuning control. You can undervolt your GPU. You can overclock your GPU, and you can overclock your VRAM. So you can get in here, and then you can your presets: quiet, balanced, range. It like this is all right here. You get in here to smart access memory. You just flip that button. It's enabled already. Yeah, it's such an amazing freaking setup with the AMD software. You can do a stress test, man. Like you can set your GPU. You can run the stress test as long as you want. It may cause your system to crash, so you can tune it, and then you can stress it. It's pretty cool, man. Like this, and you can get in there and you can find like your little help things up here if you wanna get in there and help stuff. That you can launch this for like bugs and stuff like that. All of your like this is pretty cool software. I like the way this is designed. It's simple, yeah, elegant and easy to understand. You've got anything that you need information on, like you can click there. It's going to tell you, any of these little help icons. I like the way this is designed. Whoever designed this is very, like they did a good job, and I like that. You can even do like, what is this? Auto overclock. Wow. Auto overclock. And then settings, sampling, show metrics, performing log, whatever. I haven't played around with any of this stuff, so I don't really care about all that. But then you just go back to home, and home is going to get you in there and let you see all of your stuff. This is going to tell you, if your drivers are up to date. You can just click that button. We just got an update today, which is 23.9.3, that had support for Cyberpunk and for Payday 3. So that was pretty awesome. And then, yeah, overall, the experience on AMD, I think, is a lot more. Let me get my camera back up. I think the AMD experience is a lot more optimized for people that are new to the PC experience. I feel like you're going to get a pretty dang good bang for your buck going with AMD, and that's the thing that I don't think a lot of these other tech YouTubers and a lot of the other guys out there do. I feel like they start off in a good place, and it can happen to me eventually, who knows. I think they start off in a good place wanting to be helpful, and then boom, it's right off to the races of trying to get content out as quick as you can, and I think that just gets kind of lost. And then I feel like, as somebody that used to watch those communities, I feel like you find yourself just trying to grab whatever you can glean. You know what I mean? Whatever you can glean from that information, and it becomes a little bit tiresome. So when I do my PC content for this channel, I want to be able to help you get a system that's going to give you some longevity. I don't want you to buy products and then run out and be like, oh man, I got to update again. I do think that the 7900 XT, because of the VRAM, because of the obviously power, ever since I've had this card, we've gotten updates and we've seen things getting significantly better. I mean, like significant improvements just since I bought the card till now. I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. Like this AMD kind of feels like it was built for gamers to play video games, whereas in my mind, I feel like Nvidia is more designed for those enthusiast people that just want to push as much power or whatever they can. I think that's your Nvidia class. So if you're new to PC, I do recommend starting off with AMD. I feel like you're going to find a better price value. Obviously, that AMD is good at price and value and substance or whatever. And then I also think you're going to be able to utilize this AMD software to really understand and really learn about your system and see, being able to get in there and, set up these settings and everything being like, not necessarily like hand-holdy, but better, better equipped for helping you understand what like you can do and what your limitations are, and all of that with PC. Nvidia is pretty scattered, to be completely honest. It is pretty scattered. It is possible to do. Like, you can find it. You can definitely watch a bunch of YouTube videos. You can read a bunch of, you can read a bunch of blogs or whatever else. There's a lot of helpful people out there in the Nvidia space that are more than willing to help you figure some of this stuff out if you've got the time to search for it and find it. AMD pretty much builds some software for you to be able to figure this out. If you're like me, and it's hard for you to, I'm serious, man. Like, I have to read books sometimes just to figure some of this stuff out. And if I don't have like solid information, I'm not interested in nonsense. Like, I'm not interested in like, I'm in my job. I fix things. I have to be able to diagnose the problem and then fix it in a timely manner. Like, I have to be able to do that. So I don't have time to like run around and, well, did you try this and did you try that? No, I need to be able to find direct information that's going to correlate to what I'm doing so that I can solve my problems faster and be on my way. I don't have time for nonsense. And with Nvidia, I feel like I spent, there's a lot of people that are like, yeah, you spend all this time trying to tweak settings and all of that. I feel like there was a lot of that with Nvidia. And so as somebody that didn't have the time to go running around looking for things, and you get into that control panel on Nvidia, and like, you're trying to read through like some of that stuff, and like it puts me to sleep. I like the way this is designed. It's very cool. You just push on the little buttons and stuff, and it like does stuff. And there's like tangible results on the other side. So you're like, ooh, and you can adjust this in game. You can hit the Alt R, pull up this menu. You can go into anything, and you can change a lot of these settings on the fly. Some of them, like if you play with some of the settings, like the driver level ones, you will have to get out of the game and boot back in. But there are some things that you can absolutely change while you're gaming, and that is incredible. So overall, the overall experience with AMD over the last 3 months has been a welcome change. It's been fun. It's been educational. It's definitely helped me understand more about PC gaming and not just being like, and not just resorting back to my console behaviors as quickly as I was with that Nvidia graphics card. Like, I've been a lot more in tune and wanting to see things and learn things and figure things out. But I can't take somebody's word for something anymore. Like, I've just been not necessarily burned, but I'm just like, I'm so sick of like the emotional attachment when it comes to things that, like, I wish, honestly, here's the thing, man. I really do wish that I would have got the 6800 XT when I bought that 3080. I do. I really do wish I could go back and just buy that card so that I could still be, so I feel like I'd be a lot farther ahead right now than I am. I feel like I would be in a lot different space, and I would have a better understanding and a better grasp of the overall situation and the overall experience for PC gaming, because since I've started this channel, I've always just felt like I'm playing catch up. If I don't have content out quick, the way the algorithm works for YouTube, it really sucks, man. So say I'm putting out a review for Mortal Kombat. If there's already a lot of other reviews out there and they have a significant amount of views already, my video does not get nowhere near as much traction. It pretty much gets kicked right out of the algorithm. By the time I put my video out, if the only people that are going to watch my video are the people that are part of the community already, that have already found the channel and they've already subscribed, all of that stuff. So you'll have access to that video. YouTube will show that to you, but it's not gonna show it as much to anybody else unless it is a very popular like searched feature or something. My videos usually get buried, and a lot of the videos that I make are so like pigeonholed to like boom to this that like they don't show them anyways. Like, I barely get anybody seeing my videos in their feed. Like, that's just how it is on YouTube, and it is a lot more challenging. It is a lot more challenging to grow a channel. especially these days. Like, if you're not knowing, your videos aren't going to get seen. So I don't know why I went on that tangent. I totally forgot. I lost my train of thought. But the overall experience with AMD has been good. I could easily recommend the AMD 7800 XT or 7900 XT, 7900 XTX for anybody coming from a 30 series card. I think you'll be all right with any of those choices. If you're coming from a 3090, you're pretty much going from the same performance to the same performance, though. So that's something you might want to keep in mind. You might not be getting a significant, you might not be getting a significant enough improvement to where it would matter. The only thing the only thing you would really benefit from is significantly more VRAM. If you're coming from like a 3080, a 3080 12 gig or any of that stuff. If you're coming from 3090, you're gonna have the same amount of VRAM, but you'll be able to get the frame generation. Well, you'll still be able to get the frame generation with AMD software anyways on your 3090. So I don't know, man. You might just be okay. So yeah, if you don't need to upgrade, don't upgrade. But if you are wanting to change and you're wanting to see something new, definitely I think AMD really is in a competitive place right now to be able to deliver an experience that you're going to be okay with. Like, there's too much negativity out there about AMD. And after 3 months of having AMD, I can comfortably say that, like, I think a lot of that is blown out of proportion, and a certain subset of people in the Nvidia community are like they pick this stuff up and they run with it, and they spread so much nonsense out there, and the PC space is very full of ignorance. It really is. There's a lot of ignorance out there. I even say stupid stuff all the time, but I do my due diligence and I do my homework, and I do sit there and try to fully grasp what I'm doing with my experience so that I can bring you some solid content. And I am. I'm waiting 3 months so that I could do this video and try to bring as much of this content together as possible. So if you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching, and I'm sorry that this was a very long video, but it was.